I came home from school and found the house empty. No furniture, no note, just a dead Wi-Fi signal and a locked front door. I walked to my aunt's place. She opened the door and said, "They moved this morning. Didn't they tell you?" I called my mom. She answered once. It was easier this way. Then blocked my number. I slept at a friend's garage for a month. I never saw that street or them again. 11 years later, I made a decision they didn't see coming. When they found me through a filing, I just laughed. Since then, I've gotten messages like, "Please, just tell us what this means." Dad's crying every day. He keeps saying, "We shouldn't have left him. We weren't thinking straight. Please believe us." So yeah, IDK how to start this, but whatever. Maybe someone will get it. I always thought stuff like this only happened to those weird headlines you see on the side of Facebook, like, "My family left me, now I'm rich." Except I'm not rich, and I'm not some main character. I just want to say, this is not some "oh poor me" thing. I'm honestly still pissed off and NGL. A little impressed at the balls it takes to do what my family did. But yeah, here we go. First off, it was Tuesday, right? Not even a weird day, just Tuesday after school. I remember being salty about some group chat because someone was talking shit about my shoes. They were actually fake, but who cares, they were clean. And I was texting back all the way through the walk home. I get to the house, which is just regular suburbia. Nothing special, except I notice the grass is weirdly flat and there's like tire tracks on the driveway. Not the usual spots either. I remember thinking it was just Dad moving his car again. He used to do that to annoy the neighbors. I unlock the front gate, get to the porch, and that's when I see the mailbox is empty. Mom never empties the mailbox. Whatever. I think maybe they're home early, maybe some surprise. So I try my key in the front door, but it doesn't turn. Like it actually doesn't fit. Like someone changed the lock. I try again, jiggling it a bit, and I'm getting annoyed because I have to pee and my phone's on like 14%, which is classic. I pound on the door a few times, nothing. The curtains are pulled closed, which is already sketchy because my mom used to keep them half open so the cat could look outside. Rip to that cat. IDK what happened to her now. Anyway, I go around the side, try the garage door, which is unlocked, but when I go in, literally nothing. The shelves are gone. Even the thing where we kept the old tennis rackets, and there's like this weird echo in there. No smell of detergent, no boxes, nothing. Just empty. I'm standing there, trying to figure out if this is a prank or if we got robbed. But even the old stuff is gone. The broken bike, the cracked bucket, even the gross mat that Dad always promised to throw out. I try the laundry door, but that's locked too. And it doesn't even have the old scratch marks from where the dog used to paw at it. It's just new. I start calling Mom, but she doesn't answer. I try Dad, goes straight to voicemail. I'm getting more pissed than worried, TBH, because this is some next-level passive-aggressive move if they're mad about last night. Which, for context, was another fight about money in school and how some people in this house don't care if things go wrong. I yelled back, whatever, not my best moment. But it wasn't like I flipped the table or anything. They've done worse. I wasn't even home that late. I checked the Wi-Fi, dead. Not just bad connection, but the whole network is gone. So I can't hop online to see if maybe there's a text or if someone posted anything. I try my sister's number, she's younger, probably can't help. Goes to voicemail too. At this point, I'm actually starting to wonder if something happened, like a fire or something. But the neighbor is out watering his plants and just gives me the usual nod. I ask if he saw my parents. He shrugs and says he saw a moving truck this morning. Thought it was weird I wasn't helping. I tell him I didn't know, and he just goes back to his hose. I'm standing there with my backpack and my phone dying, and I decide to walk to my aunt's place, which is like 15 minutes if you cut through the field by the rec center. I get there, knock, and she opens the door and looks at me like I'm a stray dog, which is hilarious because she's always posting about family is everything on her story. I ask her if she knows where my parents are, and she just sighs and says, "They moved this morning. Didn't they tell you?" I say no, obviously not, and she just stands there, kind of blocking the door with her arm, like not even a come in or want food. She says something about, "It's not my business to get in the middle. Maybe you should call your mom," she'll explain. But she's nervous, keeps glancing back inside like someone might be watching. So I sit down on her porch because I literally have nowhere else to go. And after a while, she brings me a bottle of water, but doesn't let me in the house. My cousin comes out, sees me, says yo, and goes back inside. I try calling Mom again, and this time she actually picks up. She says, "It was easier this way," her voice all flat, and then hangs up. I try calling back and she's already blocked me. I try texting, nothing goes through. I try Dad, same thing. So now it's almost dark. I'm still on that porch and my aunt finally comes out and says I can't sleep there. She's sorry, but it's not her business. I ask her where they went. She just says, "I think somewhere north, I don't know." That's it. No offer of a ride, no cash, nothing. She shuts the door, not slamming, but Definitely not gentle either. I end up walking to Julio's place, which is kind of far, but I have no other options. Julio's mom answers the door, looks annoyed, but lets me in when she sees my face. I tell them I need a place to crash just for a night, swear I'll figure it out. Julio's dad is less friendly, but he doesn't say no. They let me sleep in their garage, which is full of boxes and smells like old shoes, but I don't care. At least it's not outside. The next morning, I check my phone. Still nothing from my family. I try to go to school, but I can't focus. Everyone's asking where I'm living, and I just say with a friend, because I don't want to get counselors involved. If you've ever been the charity case at school, you know it's not a vibe. I keep checking socials, but there's nothing about me, nothing about moving. Just some generic happy family pics from a week ago. My sister doesn't reply to my DMs, but she's still posting stories of her new room, not my old house. So yeah, they really just dipped. I stay at Julio's garage for almost a month. His parents start getting twitchy about it after week 2. I offer to help with chores, take out trash, whatever. They're not mean, just awkward. I start doing odd jobs for neighbors, mowing lawns, stuff like that, just to buy snacks and keep my phone running. School is whatever. I just do the minimum. I stopped trying to call my family after the first week. It's obvious they're not going to answer. They moved on, literally. I hear from a friend of a friend that my parents are starting fresh, whatever that means. I guess they always thought I was too much, like too angry, too loud, too hard to control. I'm not saying I was a saint, but I wasn't burning the house down either. I think they just wanted an easier life, and I was the problem. They always said I was hurting the family atmosphere after arguments, that I was setting a bad example for my sister. Like I was just existing, man. I argued when they were being unfair. I didn't just roll over. Maybe that's why. I never saw that street or them again. Not even once. I kept waiting for someone to show up, some apology, some explanation, but nothing. I stopped expecting it after month 2. So yeah, that's how it went. If you're expecting a big "and then I forgave them" thing, nah, that's not this story. If anything, it's just the start. I'm not out here begging for sympathy. I just want it on record that I didn't fold. I didn't crawl back. And if anyone thinks I just took it, nah, I was just waiting. Next part's where it gets interesting. Promise. Update 1. So yeah, like I said last time, I stayed in Julio's garage for a month. If you've ever slept on gym mats stacked on cardboard boxes, congrats, you know the vibe. It was cold and smelled like feet, but at least I wasn't on the street. Julio was solid, but his parents were clearly not thrilled, especially his dad. Every morning he'd grumble about electricity bills and ask how long I was visiting. I started leaving before sunrise and coming back after dark to avoid them. Not that it helped much. First week, I thought maybe my family would realize what they did was wild and come back, or at least send someone to pick me up. I kept checking my phone, but nothing. I messaged my mom and dad, got nothing except that one text from my mom. Literally just, "It was easier this way," which still pisses me off. I even tried my sister, Natalie. She was like 12. No way she could do anything, but I thought maybe she'd at least tell me what was going on. She left me on read, then blocked me. When I checked her socials, she'd already posted pics of her new room and a dog I'd never seen before, just normal, new place, new me kind of stuff. It was like I never existed. School was a whole other mess. I started showing up less because I didn't have clean clothes half the time, and I was always tired. Guidance counselor cornered me, asking if everything was okay at home. I said, yeah, just moving. And he gave me this look like he didn't buy it, but didn't want to get involved. Teachers stopped calling on me after week 2. I guess they figured I was just another lost cause. Julio tried to keep me in the loop, but it was obvious his parents were over it. His mom started making passive comments about kids who don't respect their elders and taking advantage of people's kindness. I started eating less, just to make it less awkward, and buying instant noodles with the cash I got mowing lawns. The worst was weekends. Everyone else had somewhere to be. I'd walk around the mall with nothing to buy just so I wouldn't be in the way. I started hanging out at this park with busted swings, scrolling on my phone until the battery died. One time, I saw my dad's Facebook pop up. He wasn't smart enough to block me yet, and there were these pics of a house I'd never seen. Caption was, "Fresh start, blessed." My mom was there, smiling, holding Natalie, and some dude I didn't know. I stared at it for like an hour. I zoomed in on the background, trying to see if there was anything of mine, but it was all new. New couch, new rug, new everything. Even the dog was. After that, I stopped checking. I blocked them instead. I figured if they could move on, so could I. Except it wasn't that easy, because everywhere I went, someone would ask where I was living now or if my parents were coming to the next game or whatever. I started saying I was with an aunt just to shut people up. Some believed me, some didn't. One guy asked if I was homeless, and I almost swung on him, but Julio stepped in and told him to shut up. Eventually, Julio's dad sat me down and said I had to go. He tried to make it sound like he was doing me a favor, saying, "It's better for everyone if you sort things out with your family, kid." I told him that wasn't happening, but he just shrugged and said, "Life's not fair." I packed my stuff, which was just my backpack and a garbage bag of clothes, and left. Didn't even say bye to Julio, just texted him sorry later. He didn't answer for 2 days, then just sent NP bro. Haven't really talked since. I get why, honestly. People get tired of your baggage. I spent a couple nights at the park, then started couch hopping with some other kids I knew from school. Not friends, just people who didn't care if I crashed on the floor. It was always temporary, always awkward. I learned to keep quiet and not ask for anything. I got used to people slamming doors in my face or getting mad if I used their charger without asking. I started keeping my stuff in a locker at the rec center, just so it wouldn't get jacked. IDK if anyone reading this has ever tried to get help in a situation like that, but it's not like in the movies. People say call social services or talk to an adult, but adults don't want to deal with it, and I wasn't about to go to some group home. I figured if my own family didn't want me, why would anyone else? Plus, I wasn't going to beg. Never gave them that satisfaction. The anger just kept building. I remember one night I was at this kid Brad's house, sleeping on a beanbag, and I heard his mom ask him why I was still there. He said, "He's got nowhere else, Mom, just a few days." She said, "That's not our problem, Brad." I got up, grabbed my bag, and left before they woke up. Just kept walking. I was tired of being everyone's problem. The thing is, my parents always said I was the one making things difficult, that I was too loud, too stubborn, too much attitude. They'd tell me I was hurting the family atmosphere every time I stood up to them about something. Like when I said it wasn't fair that Natalie got new shoes every month and I had to wear hand-me-downs, or when I called out my dad for yelling at Mom. They didn't want to deal with me, so they just didn't. I started thinking, if I was such a problem, maybe I should be a problem, not for the people helping me, but for the ones who ditched me. I started keeping notes, literally, on my phone. Every time I remembered something they did that messed me up. Every time they used my name on bills to get cheaper utilities, or when they signed up for stuff in my name because you're a minor, it doesn't matter. I remembered my dad yelling at me to give him my social for tax stuff when I was like 13. I didn't even know why, just did it. I kept all that filed away. I started Googling what you could do if someone used your info like that. Most of the answers were useless, or made it sound impossible unless you had money or parents who cared. Lol. I started thinking about how to get out from under all that and also how to make sure they couldn't just forget I existed. I didn't want to just move on. I wanted them to feel it. But before I could do anything, I had to survive. That meant making enough to eat, staying out of trouble, keeping my head down. I learned to hustle. I'd do whatever paid. Yard work, running errands, cleaning up after parties, even selling random stuff I found. Old electronics, books, whatever. I kept my phone running on cheap prepaid cards. Sometimes I'd go 3 days without talking to anyone. Nobody asked where I was, and I stopped caring. I saw my mom once at the grocery store months later. She was with Natalie and some guy, pretty sure it was her new boyfriend, looking happy, laughing about some sale on frozen pizza. I just watched them from the other aisle. She saw me, made eye contact, then turned away. Didn't even flinch. I walked out. Didn't even try to talk to her. That's when I knew for sure. There was no fixing it. They were done with me, and honestly, I was done with them. But I wasn't going to let it go. I started planning, not just for survival, but for payback. I wasn't going to go full psycho or anything, but I wanted them to feel what it was like to get left, to have something yanked out from under you with no warning, no backup, nothing. And yeah, people will say I needed therapy or whatever. Like, yeah, maybe. But I needed a plan more. I wasn't about to let them win. I didn't want to be some story my family tells at parties about their troubled son. I wanted to be the reason they can't sleep at night. I was just getting started. Next part, you'll see. Update 2. So yeah, last time I left off about how I started keeping notes and all that after they left me, basically on the sidewalk. I guess I always figured at some point I'd just get numb to it or move on, but the thing about getting dropped by your own family is it sticks. I didn't get over it, I just got smarter. TBH, I got meaner. Anyway, after I bounced from couch to couch for what felt like forever, I finally got my own spot. Not a real apartment, just a room in a rundown house with 2 other guys who didn't ask questions, which was the only way I could afford it. I was still under 18, so I had to get creative with stuff. Borrowed IDS, paid everything in cash, did whatever. It wasn't glamorous, but at least nobody could kick me out without warning. I kept hustling, picked up odd jobs, saved every extra cent. Some days I skipped meals just so I didn't have to explain where my money went. The weird part was, even after all that, I still got mail from my parents. Stuff with my name on it too. First it was junk, then it got weirder. Random bills, weird credit card offers, even a letter from some utility company about an unpaid balance. I didn't think much of it at first, just tossed it. But then I started getting calls from numbers I didn't know, leaving voicemails about late bills, collections, all that. Once, someone from a debt collector called and said my co-signer needed to pay up. I almost laughed. I was 17 and technically had $0 to my name, so I started digging. Pulled my own credit report, which is a nightmare if you don't have an address or a steady phone number, but I figured it out. Turns out there's like 3 accounts opened in my name, all from my old address. These weren't huge debts, but they were enough to wreck my credit before I even had one. I remembered my dad always asking for my info, saying it was just for paperwork. Guess I should have known, but when you're a kid, you just do what people tell you. I tried calling the companies, but they didn't care. Said I needed proof I didn't sign for the accounts. I explained the situation and one lady just said I'd need to get my legal guardian to call. I hung up. Nobody was going to fix this for me. I got pissed, not even sad anymore, just straight up rage. You can cut someone off fine, but to use their name to set up your new life? That's next level. I started tracking down where my parents actually moved, not to get back in touch, but to see what they were up to. Stuff leaks out. My aunt posted some family selfie at a new house, all happy, and tagged the location by accident. I looked up the address, and yeah, it was nicer than anything we ever had. New paint, fancy plants, even one of those blessed family signs on the porch. I guess that's what you get when you ditch your kid and don't have to pay for him anymore. I didn't want to just show up. Not my style, and honestly, I didn't want to see their faces. But I wanted them to know I was still there, that they didn't just erase me. So here's where I started making my own move. I went to every place that had opened accounts in my name and started contesting them. I sent letters, called, filled out forms, even went in person once and argued with some dude behind the desk until he threatened to call security. I kept every receipt, every email, every letter. Took months, but I started getting some traction. A couple places dropped the debts, a couple just stopped calling. But the big stuff, like the main utility company, refused to budge. So I flipped it. I told them flat out I never lived at the new address, had proof I'd been elsewhere. School records, even a dumb bus pass from the city. They said fine, but now the balance would go back to the original signers, aka my parents. I said, do it. They said it might take a while, but I made sure every single bill with my name on it got kicked straight back to Brenda and Richard. I even called one place and said, look, if you send another letter to my name at this address, I'll file a complaint. They stopped. About a year after that, I heard from a cousin that my parents were fighting all the time about money. Something about unexpected bills and credit score dropping. I guess it's not easy to get a new mortgage when your last one is tangled up in collections. I heard my dad ranting to my aunt. She had me on speaker accidentally, LOL, about how the boy's making trouble again, just like always. I nearly threw my phone. Around then, I started getting weird messages from old family friends. Stuff like, your mom says you're angry, but you should let it go. Or, family is family. You can't just shut the door forever. I ignored them. I was done playing nice. I never asked to be the villain, but if they wanted to paint me that way, fine. I got a text from my sister, Natalie, after years of nothing. It was just, why are you making things harder? I stared at it for a while. I didn't answer. What was I supposed to say? Sorry your parents are paying for the stuff they did? Nah, she was old enough to know better now. If she wanted to talk, she could call me like a real person, not just when she wanted something. The best part was, I started to realize they'd always been like this. My parents didn't leave me because I was some monster. They left because it was easier to start over without the hassle of a kid who fought back. I made things difficult because I didn't just do whatever they said. I called them out for lying, for playing favorites, for taking shortcuts. They hated that. They wanted a family they could control, not one that called them out. So yeah, if you don't want to be remembered, don't make an enemy. I wasn't going to let them just walk away clean. Every time a bill bounced, every time their phone got shut off, every time they had to pay a deposit because of credit issues, that was me. I didn't need to see it to know. I heard from enough people that they were stressed, fighting, blaming each other. My aunt even tried to guilt me, said I was breaking the family apart. I told her she could go ahead and block my number too. I know some of you are going to say this is petty or whatever, but nah, this is just what happens when you treat your own kid like a problem to be solved. I made sure every single thing they tried to pin on me came right back to them. I didn't do anything illegal, just made sure the truth hit where it hurt. I didn't just walk away. I made sure they remembered who they left behind. And I wasn't even close to being done yet. Next part, you'll see what happens when you try to erase someone and they write themselves back in bold. Final update. So if you've read this far, you probably think I'm just some dude with a vendetta and too much time on my hands, which, honestly, fair enough. But if you ever got thrown out like trash by your own family, you'd get it. You'd get why I didn't just want to move on. I wanted them to feel it every single day until they remembered who they really left behind. I guess the first weird sign was when I got this letter marked urgent legal notice, and the sender was some law office I'd never heard of. Looked official, not the usual junk mail. I almost tossed it, then I opened it out of habit. Apparently, now that I was over 25 and had gone full ghost mode for a decade, my parents were trying to track me down because of some property thing. Not like inheritance or anything. LOL, yeah right. Just some paperwork where they needed my signature to refinance their house. You'd think they would have learned by now, but nah. They needed me on paper. So suddenly, I mattered again. The letter said they'd tried my last known addresses. Tried calling, nope. Tried email, never gave them my new one. And apparently even reached out to a couple extended family members. My cousin Natalie texted me, acting like nothing happened, asking if I'd seen the letter from mom and dad. I didn't answer. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I read the whole thing twice, trying to figure out if it was some scam or if they really needed me this bad. Turns out, because of all the stuff they'd put in my name back when I was a minor, utilities, joint accounts, whatever, there was no way for them to clean up their finances unless I signed off. And since I'd spent years untangling my name from their mess, now every time they tried to refinance, the banks flagged it. I wasn't even mad. I just started laughing. Like actual laughing. It was so obvious. After all this time, the only reason they wanted to find me was so I could fix their problems. Then the messages started. First from some random number, then from my aunt, then finally from my mom. She sent like 10 texts in a row, all long paragraphs, basically saying they needed my help just for this one thing, promising it would make things right. I didn't even read half of them. Then my dad texted, which he literally never did, saying he was sorry for everything and that he just wanted to talk. Next day, my cousin DM'd me screenshots of their group chat. My mom was freaking out. My dad apparently broke down crying, saying he shouldn't have left him, and my aunt dropping lines like, please, just tell us what this means. It was like a soap opera, except I was the main villain in their story, and Nungiel, it felt kinda good. I know some people will say I should have just signed, moved on, whatever, but nah. I remembered every slammed door, every time I slept in someone else's garage, every time a bill collector called me at 16 because my parents didn't want to deal with consequences. I remembered my aunt literally pushing me off her porch so her neighbors wouldn't see. I remembered being the problem and not the person. You don't come back from that with an apology text. So instead of ghosting, I filed my own paperwork. Not just a no contact thing, but a full legal separation, like officially cutting every possible tie. I made sure every form said I wanted nothing to do with any of their accounts, debts, or property, and that if they tried to use my name again, it would be flagged for fraud. I made it so that any bank, any company, any court that tried to loop me in would see the record and block it. It cost some money and took a bunch of phone calls, but I did it. I even CC'd their lawyer so they'd see it was real. The fallout was wild. My aunt called, pissed, saying I was ruining the family's future. My mom sent another wall of text about forgiveness and how we weren't thinking straight, please believe us. My dad tried to call. I let it ring out. Natalie messaged me on Insta, saying dad was crying every day, asking if I was happy now. I didn't answer. Not because I wanted to rub it in, but because there's nothing left to say. I already gave them my answer. Relatives started picking sides. Some of them blamed me, saying I was being cruel. Others blamed my parents, but TBH, most of them just wanted the drama to stop. One uncle actually showed up at my door, tried to shove past me, said I owed it to the family to help. I pushed him back and shut the door. I kept the texts, kept the email, kept the receipts, just in case. Through all of this, I was waiting to see if they'd actually get it. If they'd realize you can't just erase someone and expect them to come back when it's convenient. But I don't think they ever will. They're not villains. They're just selfish. They wanted a family they could control, not one that called them out. When things got tough, they cut their losses and ran. Same as always. So when people ask why I didn't just move on, this is why. You don't get to abandon someone, then need them, then act shocked when they won't save you. I didn't make this mess, but I sure as hell wasn't going to clean it up for them. And yeah, I laughed when that letter came. I laugh every time someone sends me a screenshot of my dad crying about the boy. I laugh because for once, they finally got left holding the bill. That's it. I'm not waiting for closure. I'm not looking for some big speech or a perfect reconciliation. I got what I wanted. My name back, my freedom, and the knowledge they can't use me for anything ever again. If they want to cry about it, let them. And to anyone who thinks I went too far, nah. If anything, I went exactly far enough.